Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of What's Hot with Sea Tranquility. New product review day here today on Wednesday on the channel. We've got in the co-captain's chair today. Actually, he's going to be kind of running this episode, Mr. Steven Reid, all the way from Scotland. What's happening? How are you?
I am good, Peter. I am, very good indeed. First time on the channel this year, so Happy New Year to all of
That's
the
right.
viewers.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, I haven't been on that many times yet, so it's I'm not that far ahead.
Well, Happy New Year to everyone and to you too, obviously. Yeah. I hope everyone had a good holidays. I haven't been off work an awful lot, but I am today, and I'm making the most of it by talking about a brand new book.
Yeah, that's why I said product at the top of the episode, because I usually say new releases or new albums, and this is a book review. So Steven's got something pretty cool he wants to show and tell here. So with that, I'll leave it up to him to take it away.
So what we're showing here is Silent Singing. Now, this has been out since roughly the end of November. Okay, I've only had my copy for the last couple of weeks, and it's taken a little bit of a while to work my way through it. So it's Silent Singing. Okay, this is Iananderson on the cover from Jethro Tull, and a solo artist in his own right, of course. And it is the complete collected lyrics of Iananderson and Jethro Tull. Okay, now for everyone that knows I'm a Wild Hearts fan, to go off on a tangent, this is not Ginger Wildheart on the cover. I'm really struck by how remarkably similar these two people look right now. But there you go. Made me double take when I first looked at it, but there you go, off on a tangent. So this really is a collection of Ian's lyrics throughout his entire career, okay, from the very start of Tull through to Tull that isn't even out yet. Okay, wow. So yeah, there's a bit of thought involved about what's about to come and how quickly this will go out of date, because it will go out of date. There's no two ways about that, because you'll also find in here the lyrics to the bonus tracks and things that have been added to the expanded sets.
Oh, wow. So I was just going to ask that. So you got everything. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, you got, it really has. It is exhaustive. It really is in that sense. So it's published by Rocket 88. Anybody who watched the Emerson, Lake and Palmer book review that we did a couple of months ago, it's the same people. Okay, so same again, they've set up a bespoke website for it. So you need to go to Jethro Tull Lyric Book, all one word, Jethro Tull Lyric Book.com. Okay, and that at the moment is the only place you can get it. Now that may change, it may not. Okay, but what they do promise is that the best price you'll get it is direct from them. Okay, so this one here, this is the standard edition. There are, or were, I'm sorry to say, 3 editions, because the biggest one, the major one, is already sold out. Okay, wow. So this is the standard, this is the classic edition. At the moment, this is £35. I think it launched at 45. So if you want to get there, get it now, kind of thing. Okay, there's 264 pages. It's a beautiful looking book. And then you can go from there to the signature edition, which is significantly more expensive. You're looking at about £250 for that. You can convert it into dollars. The site can do that for you as well. That is signed and numbered by Ian, and you get a print, because through the book there are photographs, and these photographs are all taken by Ian. So what they do is they tend to be relevant to a song. Now, they're not from the time, so it's not like a band shot from the time and say, well, this is the band that recorded this song. These are photographs that Ian has taken that he feels represents that specific lyric. Now, I think it works. Some of them work better than others, but these are personal things. So you might see what works and what doesn't in that sense. It's a very personal book. And that edition comes in a clamshell case, and it is limited. I think there's 500 copies of that one. And then there was also an ultimate version. There was only 100 copies of that. You were £500. And it had a G-clay print, which was also signed and numbered and various things. It was archival quality. Not quite sure what that means. Lasts a long time, I would guess. But there you go. So mainly what the book is lyrics. There's no two ways about that. There's pages and pages and pages of lyrics. Okay, now it is, I'll just take a page at random, and there you go. At random, I've also found handwritten lyrics from the time. Now, Ian admits at the start of the book that there are not many of those left, because basically they've been scrunched up and put in bins.
Never to be looked at again.
Yeah, definitely doesn't seem to be very precious about them all in that sense. And so there are a few of those. There's maybe 5, 10 throughout the book. And they're nice to see, but it's all written out properly for you. So the foreword in the book is by Gerald Bostock. Okay, absolutely, there you go. So for those that don't know, Gerald doesn't really exist. He is the 8-year-old, is that right? That wrote
He was 8, yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So Gerald takes you through Ian's childhood. It's quite a nice little touch. Okay. And it takes you through how well he did at school, because he really did. And then how his life changed from there. And that's good fun. It sets the tone for the book really well, because the one thing that Ian has always had is real self-deprecating humour. And that permeates throughout the whole book. Every album has a little introduction that he's written, and it kind of sums up the period and tells you about the recording of the album and who was coming and who was going. They are short, so it's not a history of Tull or Ian, but they are fun. They are nice. I really quite enjoyed them. So in the preface, which is written by Ian Anderson, even who also obviously wrote the foreword, that actually gives you quite a bit of insight into him and what the book is. So he, and I like the phrase, I wrote it down, he has described it as a social documentary that you can sing along to, because he tends not to write love songs. There are one or two, and he does admit that they're quite embarrassing. Because when he does,
fan of that, yep.
no, when he does do, I can't remember the name of the song now. I don't know if I marked it or not. Oh, but the lyrics when he goes for the sexual innuendos are just horrific. In my humble opinion, Ian also isn't very keen on them. Let's just put it that way. But they're there because they're part of the story. And in the preface, Ian also talks about the difference between writing lyrics and writing poetry. Poetry is intended, according to Ian, and I agree with him, to be written for the page. It's there to be read, and that really tells you how you annotate it onto the page. Lyrics are intended to be sung, and therefore it's not quite so simple when you then come to write them down. So he admits that some of the punctuation goes out the window, some lines start with a capital and some don't, and various things like that. So he goes into that, and then he tells you that he started compiling the book in 2014. And as with so many projects, because he's done so many different things within the time between then and now, lockdown and restrictions and various things suddenly made him think, I'm going to finish that. Well, I'm very glad that he did. So he covers that there are 3 songs in the catalogue written by others. Okay, so you've got from the Tull catalogue, Move On Alone by Mick Abrahams, Coronach and Urban Apocalypse by David Palmer. Well, they're not Ian Anderson songs. They're not in the book. Okay,
yeah,
they're mentioned, but they're not. The lyrics are not in the book. I'd like to see them there, whether they could have done or whether they couldn't, I don't know, but there you go. It's 3 songs. It would be nice to see them.
Yeah, it's a licensing issue, of course. Yeah,
just would have bookended the whole thing. But there you go. I understand why they're not. He actually does word it in the preface about basically they're not his songs and they're not his to look after. Okay, I can live with that. Do you know, I'm okay with that. Would have preferred they were there, but that's not the point.
exactly.
They're not. Move along. So he thanks all 27 band members, and he does give a special thanks to Martin Barr, which is nice, I have to say, because it's nice to see his humongous input into the band acknowledged in that sense, even though it wasn't in the lyrical sense. And it was interesting as well to discover that when he started the idea in 2014, one of the first things he had to then go and do was try and find written sources for his own lyrics. Because even listening to the songs, he was kind of going, what was that? And that's
actually with this thing called the internet out there, he probably can find that pretty easily, right? In case
he did admit that he's used those sources. He did use some of those sources, and he also admitted that there are some people out there who really love the lyrics. And he did actually rely on these people and say, do you know what I sang there? And discovered that some people actually do.
Someone does, right?
That's it. So he also goes into a little bit of the detail about how you have to take on a character to sing a song. And then he goes on to call the whole book a vanity project. Well, the fact that I'm holding it, and I think it's great, it really isn't a vanity project, because a vanity project to me would be something that nobody was interested in. And the
Right.
fact that the special edition, which is not very cheap, has already sold out, we tell you that there are lots of people interested. And also, as tends to be the way these days, you get a list of all the people who helped fund the book at the back.
Oh, okay,
A
good.
lot of people are interested. So it's definitely not a vanity project at all. But one of the things that I found most interesting, because I'm not really a lyrics guy. Okay, I can sing along with some songs. I could probably sing you all of some albums, probably maybe not. Maybe think I can. Maybe a bit like Ian Anderson, I would need to go back and think, what did he actually sing there? But I can sing.
What was that verse?
Yeah.
How'd that go again?
Yeah. I'll just make that up, or I'll sing the first verse twice. And that's just the way that I enjoy music. I will sing along with things, and I love a great vocalist. I love some great characterful singers. It's really important to me that the singer can sing in most circumstances. Some, I will admit that are not necessarily the best singers in the world, but I think they're perfect for their band. But lyrics are not something that I tend to pay an awful lot of attention to. I was never one of these guys that sat with the inner sleeve out of my LP and read the lyrics as the music was playing. It's never been me. It's always been
I'm
about
guilty
the
of that
message.
as well. I never did it either.
And I apologize to all of those who absolutely love their music with that aspect alongside it. I do too. I'm not suggesting that lyrics are not important. They don't touch me in the way they necessarily touch others. And I must admit that I maybe thought that this book therefore would just pass me by. Do you know, I would maybe look at it and think, it's nice, looks cool, love the subject matter, but and actually that's not really what I found at all. I have sat and listened to, and I've tended to do it with the newer ones that I've got on the box sets, so likes of Stormwatch, Benefit, and actually sat down and gone through and listened and done exactly what the book is called. I haven't sung out loud, I have done silent singing, because I've sung along in my head as it's gone along. And it's fascinating how many of these words I don't know. I really don't know. Okay, so to give you an idea of what's inside, I haven't marked too much because there are lots and lots and lots of pages of just lyrics. However, Ian's photography is very good, you know, and I've marked a few. I liked this. Okay, so this is Jeffrey Hammond.
Yep.
Okay, or Jeffrey Hammond, depending on what either you want to talk about. And this is Jeffrey's artwork, which is what, of course, he's done for many, many moons now. It's made me, for a start, think I have to go look at more of his artwork because that's tremendous. But I just love that shot. I think it's very good. And it sits along the song, A Song for Jeffrey. So this is what we get as you go through the book. The photographs, as I say, not necessarily from the time, but they do certainly represent the song that they sit alongside. And in each album has a little introduction, and you see the album art up to, well, you don't see the album art for the new one because that clearly wasn't decided at that stage, but we'll get when we get there.
Well, if you've seen the album cover of that, it's, you know, not the most flattering shot of Ian ever. I kind of wondered why they chose that, but anyway, I digress.
It's an interesting shot. Well, it's not in here, but it is an interesting choice of artwork for the album in that sense. So to give you a flavour, because they're not remarkably long, I'll read this little bit about stand-up from 1969, okay? And it goes, still in that bedsit in Kentish Town, and now writing using a Yamaha FG acoustic, as I recall. With Mick recently departed, and Martin Barr having just joined, I was free to explore more quirky song ideas and look for influences outside the blues genre. Classical, folk, and ethnic music crept into the arsenal of weaponry, and the mixture of harder rock and folk simplicity made for an album of varying dynamics. Mandolin, balalaika, and the harmonica held their ground against my flute playing and Martin's ever-growing confidence with electric guitar. Spring gave way to a balmy summer and visits to nearby Hampstead Heath, which, together with the sights and sounds of London, offered their own inspiration. The last gasp of laid-back hippie idealism offered a final warm motivation to write in that last real summer of love. So the little introductions for all the albums, I must admit, I found wonderful. They're all like that. They're all a bit quirky. They all kind of take you to the time and the place. They kind of talk about who came and went in the band at that stage. And I have already flicked through and read all of those because I thought, oh, I read the first couple, I thought these are great. Really good. And it made me want more of that, in actual fact. And I would definitely read more of something along those lines if it was to be available. So the next thing I've marked is a page of handwritten lyrics. We've seen something along those lines already. So I'll show you a little bit of kind of quirky photograph. This is from Ladies, the song Ladies. Okay, so these are all people in kind of steampunk garb, gothic dress. So underneath each of the photographs, you get a little description. So, Ladies, Leipzig during a goth festival in the city. I was there for a concert, and having a little lunchtime stroll through the city centre, I became increasingly confused as to the reason for all the elaborately, I can't say that, dressed visitors. Then I saw the poster for the festival. So he took the photograph because he's always got a camera in his pocket, as he says at the very start of the book. And this is the one that goes alongside Ladies. And this is the way that the photographs kind of work alongside the songs. So these are photographs that clearly have meant something to Ian in that sense. So for completists, you do get, for example, okay, so the best of Jethro Tull, because there's Rainbow Blues on that album. So there's one song that's only on there. So it too
there you go.
is included. I like this. I like this because most of these, you find that most of these kind of books forget about these little things. They don't put in the bonus tracks, and I kind of, do you know, because
it's part of the legacy, right? Yeah.
If I have one, I need to have them all. The curse is real.
That's
you know?
right. Yep.
So, and I marked this one. I like this one a lot. This is a photograph here.
Oh, nice.
Okay. So underneath this one. So this is from Black Sunday, the song. My father's 1930s luggage and my first 016 NY guitar waiting for the taxi to arrive and begin a tour. This was a little suitcase I took on the first Jethro Tull tour of the USA in 1969. And it sits alongside the song Black Sunday. And then when you read that and about the journey and heading off, it really actually clicks together. And that's a really lovely photograph, I think. It's quite poignant, and I quite like seeing those little bits. But then on the other end of the scale, okay, all right, so you look at that and you think, no idea what that is. So it goes alongside the song Apogee. So that is inside the thruster cone of the space shuttle Atlantis, where Ian was allowed to go in and take a photograph. So you get completely different aspects. There's that photograph in Leipzig. There's the quite personal things where you see like the suitcase and various things like that. And then you see something, you know, as otherworldly as inside a thruster on a space shuttle. And then, of course, you see
Anson chatting on the phone.
Now, he's on the phone, but you will notice he has no trousers on. For those that would like to see him with no trousers on.
There you go.
There you go.
Got the boots and the boots.
and boots, absolutely. So this is from the song Still Loving You Tonight, okay, which is all about absence and fondness and being there and not being there. And this is a totally set up shot. Ian took that photograph himself of him, as he says, not my usual after show hotel outfit. So there is that bit of fun that plays all the way through the book. And then as we move further on, you also get the same level of detail about his solo albums. Okay. And I like that too. I mean, the solo albums are different, but certainly of a theme, because well, to me anyway, you know they're Ian. There's no two ways about that, whether they really fall into the Tull sound or not. Some do, some don't, I would suggest. But it's quite nice that as a body of work, the whole thing is there and is kept together. And then we go all the way through to the Zealot Gene. So that is still to come. We are less than a month away. I must admit, it landed in my inbox today. Haven't listened to it yet.
Oh, very cool. It might be in mine too. I haven't even looked, so
I'm quite excited. So yeah, no artwork for the new one, but there is an explanation about how it went and how it came together. And I hadn't realised from listening to the couple of songs that have been out there, which so far I have liked, I have to say, that there are biblical references to each of the songs. So they each come with for example, Exodus 24:7-37. So all of the songs are from that. And as you read the little notes that Ian's put together, you do realise that spirituality has become ever more prevalent to him. Not necessarily organised religion, but spirituality. And he finds the good book, as he words it in here, to be inspirational, as opposed to, you know, his tone for how to live his life in that sense. And that too shows you that there's just a fascinating insight into Ian Anderson. There's a lot of social commentary in the lyrics. There's a lot of storytelling in the lyrics. There are some that make you go, but not many in actual fact. I mean, not that I've read every one. I've got to be honest, you can't, well, you could. I haven't read this as a book, start to finish. I have read all of the album introductions, thoroughly enjoyed them. I have read all of the stuff at the start, all of the stuff at the end. And then I've dipped into a few albums and done what I tend not to do, sit and actually listen to an album with the lyrics in hand. And it feels quite grand sitting with your black book to do that with. And I must admit that I've really enjoyed it. And I find the book to be really good fun in the terms of, you know, you can have a look at the photographs and marry them up with the songs as well. So if you love lyrics and you love Ian Anderson's lyrics, I don't think you can be without this, because it really does bring it all together. And he even goes as far as to, with some of them, I did mark it, but I'm not going to go hunting at this stage, to detail, you know, even sometimes the genesis of a song. So where a song was maybe two put together and it's ended up as a bonus track now, or along those lines, it actually states that above the song. So the bonus tracks in here too, they tend to be gathered together in a kind of no man's land at the end, in that sense, because they're from the time, but they're only getting heard now. So it's quite interesting in that sense as well. So it really is quite exhaustive. It's a shame, I suppose, that there isn't little sections to add when he writes more things in the future, or as bonus tracks appear on future box sets, we hope, because I'm sure there'll be more things that will come. And it will, in that sense, I suppose, quite quickly go out of date. However, the body of work that is in here is huge and impressive at this stage. So why not do it now when he had the time to put it together? So that is Silent Singing. That's what it is. The complete collected lyrics of Ian Anderson and Jethro Tull. And I think if you're a Tull fan, an Anderson fan, a prog fan who loves lyrics, I think you'll get a lot from it, I have to say. I have, more than I thought I would, is the honest truth to that. And what I also discovered having a look at Rocket 88's website is that they're probably going to get some money from me too, because I've got other books that I didn't realise I had a complete history of Porcupine Tree. Mick Jones has written a book about Foreigner. I didn't know that. So,
well, I think for those watching, there you have it. There's an opportunity to expand your literary reading there, right? That's pretty
absolutely good. And I mean, there's books on 10cc. They've got some really cool looking books on even bands like Epica. So maybe bands that you wouldn't necessarily expect as well. So yeah, these are the first two books that I've ever had from Rocket 88. And I must admit that I'm very impressed with both the Emerson, Lake and Palmer book, which if anyone's interested and didn't see, we did review a couple of months ago, and also the new Ian Anderson book that's sitting here. So yeah, that is Silent Singing.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, based on what I've seen, I mean, it's just, and I'm with you. I've never been a lyric guy. So when we first started talking about doing this, I was kind of like, yeah, I don't know how much interest I'd have in that personally. But now in seeing it, the way it's laid out, I mean, that's a pretty cool book.
Yeah.
Because I think if you love the music of Jethro Tull and you love Ian Anderson, and whether you know him or not, and most of us don't, right? But he's been a part of our lives for so many years. It's like, you know, the kind of quirky, kind of witty nature of Ian Anderson. And it sounds to me like he poured it all in that book. I almost can't wait for him to write an autobiography one of these days, because I think that would be an absolutely fascinating read. But this sounds like a lot of fun. I mean, I like the way it's set up album by album and how he includes all the bonus stuff. The photographs are very personal, which is kind of cool. The stories tied behind them all. Well done. I think it looks good, as opposed to if it was just 250 pages of straight lyrics.
Yeah. What struck me as well, when you read the foreword, the preface, and then those little album introductions, is I can hear Ian actually saying these words, do you know, and sometimes with that over-the-top stage presence that he has, and that kind of enunciation that he uses, which is really, you know, it's elaborate and put on in that sense for when he's on stage, because he's definitely a character when he's on stage, but you can hear that delivery almost in the way that he says a lot or writes a lot of the words. And I really liked that too, because you immediately thought, I'm in his world here. And I would definitely, if Ian ever hears this, I would love to read more in that tone, because I find it remarkably exciting to kind of think, oh, okay, he's taking us on this journey. And you felt not only a couple of paragraphs, but those little album introductions, you kind of think, oh, okay, I would love to read more about this. I'd love to hear more about what happened here and why that was that, and the journey that went on, you know? So yeah, really, really enjoyed it in that sense. And it whetted my appetite for hopefully something that may happen one of those years. But Ian is always so busy, who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. One thing that I've always noticed about him, he seems to be very in tune with his audience, and he kind of, in a way, he it's almost like he knows what his audience expects, and he wants to live up to that at all times. So I think this book seems to me like a love letter to the fan base. It's like, I know you would love to see a lyric book, but I'm not just going to give you a lyric book. It's got to be an Ian Andersonized, right? And I think that, you know, he's a very intelligent human being, I think, and he knows what he's doing. Yeah.
The very fact that he introduces the book with Gerald Bostock's words, immediately you think,
Could he not, right? How could
I'm
he
on
not?
board. As soon as I read that, I thought, yeah, okay, yeah, fine. I'm going to like the tone.
All of you thick as a brick fan, Gerald shows up for this one. So yeah.
Yeah, cool. So I really like that. I just and that humor just runs through the whole thing. He doesn't talk it down, because it's not. There are lots of rock stars out there now who talk their own music and career down. I hate that. If I've spent lots of time and money listening and buying to this artist's material, I hate it that they're now kind of going, he says, pointing behind, I hate it when they now go, oh, that man, that whole 10 years was garbage. And I think, well, I didn't think so at the time. So it's not like that. But he's very aware of the fact that it's really just music in a band, in the grand scheme of things, that happens to be vitally important to people like you and me.
Yeah.
So, you know, so it's given that reverence, but it's also given that irreverence. And I like that, the way it all comes together.
Yeah, cool. So we'll drop in the album description, in the video description below. I gotta get it. I say that all the time. In the video description below, along with all the links that we normally have, we'll put the link to purchase the book, as well as we should probably put the link to the publisher, so folks can go check out those other books as well. So thanks for Steven for sharing this with us today. That's pretty cool stuff. So go out and get your copy of Silent Singing by Jethro Tull's Ian Anderson. And stay tuned for more new album reviews coming up here today on the channel. And while you're at it, visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time.
All the damn time.
Tomorrow, we've got the Monsters Den, Friday morning at the Funhouse with Martin Popoff. We are going to be tackling a fun topic this Friday. We're going to be looking at some of our favorite bands who only ever released 2 albums. All right. There's a lot of them, right? 2 albums and done. This was actually a recommendation from one of our viewers. So we've got a show lined up for you on Friday. So stay tuned for that. And album homework assignment on Sunday, starring none other than Mr. Steven Reid himself and Neve the Prog Nerd, going head to head this week. So that's coming up on Sunday. And also, I don't want to forget, we've got our UK Connection show also coming up this week. Stay tuned for that as well, where we got Steven and Steven's all over the channel this week. So Simon Bray and Steven Reeder and myself are going to be talking about some of our favorite concert experiences from 1985 to 7. Is that the year that we're doing there?
85 to 7, when I was a mere babe. So I will not feature too heavily in this one, because I was such a young cherub at that age, at that time, Peter.
Well, me, on the other hand, was a crazy college kid, and I went to lots of shows over a couple of years. So, yes, so I will have plenty to talk about. So that's all coming up on the channel over the next couple of days. So thanks for watching, everybody. For Steven Reid, I am Pete Pardo. See you real soon. Take care.